Get some Mac. Okay. All right, let's go. Welcome to Positivity. It's the way to go. He is the baseball version of Mad Dog Russo. You with the encyclopedia in his knowledge. Welcome to get my guest today, Alan Dyke. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing well. I hope you are too. I brought my White Sox season ticket holder hat just to let your listeners and viewers know that I am, in addition to everything else, I am a glutton for punishment.
Yeah, well, they suck, Professor. They not that good, man. They terrible. They they basically sell off all their pieces, and they gonna trade Luis Robert at the trade deadline.
Of course
They
they
sign
will.
a player, and then they get rid of them for draft picks. They got number one pick in the MLB draft.
Okay, but
So
please remember this. Please remember this. There's only one team at the end of every season that never lost. And so with the White Sox, it's a process. And there will be good moments as well as bad moments. And the other thing I should tell you is that my season ticket is very inexpensive. It 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 averages out to $11.70 per game. So for that minimal investment, I can watch baseball that is mostly bad but occasionally good.
yeah, but what do you think about the Cubs, man? Why are they so cheap, man? I mean, they did not send Imai at all, I mean that was a steal for Houston, even though he not a top of the line starter from Japan. He was a good starter and stuff. I don't know what's going on with the Cubs.
I am confident that the Cubs will eventually decide to spend money. I'm just not sure whether this is that year. Now, here's where I'd like to hijack your question by pointing out that this is the 60th anniversary of the last year when there were no divisions in the National and the American League. Now, this is important because in that year there were 10 teams in each league. And the best team in the league was Minnesota, and they had 102 wins. And the worst team in the league was the New York Mets. Sorry, the worst team in all of baseball was the New York Mets, and they had 50 wins. That is a gap of 52 wins in all of baseball between the best and the worst. Apparently, the Lords of Baseball decided that having 10 team leagues with such a wide gap between winners and losers was wrong. So they switched to divisions. They expanded, added two more teams per league, and switched to divisions beginning in the 1966 season. We have returned to that level of disparity. If you take 2025 or 2024, the gap between the best team in baseball and the worst team in baseball is even wider than it was in 1965. Now, back to the Cubs. When you're talking about a league where the gap between the best teams and the worst teams is so wide, you really have to choose your point to go for it. And you want to be very careful. It's like coming after the king. If you come after the king, you better not miss. And I think the Cubs are biding their time. They have decent pitching, they have excellent defense, and I'm a little concerned about their bullpen, but I'm also confident that they can discover the bullpen that they need.
Well,
I I don't think they're a World Series team, and for them to be a World Series team, they're going to have a little bit more maturity from the young stars, a little better production as the young stars enter their 27, 28-year-old seasons. So if you know you're not the World Series team, then why the devil are you going to spend $200 million in contracts to get you closer to it? It's not worth it.
well, I like the way that they managed the bullpen. I mean, they said Craig Kimball, he wasn't good. They said Brandon Morrow, so I would say that's a good leverage play from a bullpen standpoint, to get bargain deals and stuff because they so volatile. look at Tanner Scott. He won good with the Dodgers, and they dodged the bullet with that one. And then Kirby Yates, he won that good with the Dodgers anyway. He had a close to 6 ERA. So I think the bullpen management they doing a good job, and I think that they need to stop trying to trade Nico Horner. Like the Bleacher Nation been saying they up there fielding calls on Nico Horner and going out to Bo Bichette that played for the Blue Jays. I think that they need to keep Nico Horner, and I think that they should get. I think they should sign Cal Tucker. I mean, he gonna be on a short term deal. They just it'd be a high AAV.
Hmm.
So if they sign him to like a 2 year, 3 year deal for 120 million and let him go back to free agency, I would say that's the better play. And then they get that sign for Zach Gallen, and then they go from there. Maybe get Sir Anthony Dominguez, with a both hand, maybe one more arm. But I would say that'd be a good fielded team. Re-saying Cal Tucker, saying Zach Gallen, because he had an awful year last year, and they could get him on a reasonable contract, and they could just go from there. I mean, it's only between the Blue Jays and the Cubs for Cal Tucker right now. Ain't no other competition to sign.
Hmm.
From all the reports out there right now,
Hmm.
what I've been hearing, on these websites and everything, MLB Network, they said it's the Blue Jays and the Cubs. So if the Blue Jays out on Cal Tucker, the Cubs could just swoop in and get them again.
I would take the Blue Jays very seriously because the Blue Jays, this is not common knowledge in baseball, but the Blue Jays are about as rich in resources as the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Dodgers are. Now, there have been years where they did not spend those resources, but this is not one of those years. The Blue Jays, as an organization, and I get this from reading between the lines and what I read, are concerned that uh, that their World Series appearance was something of a fluke. Now, more on that later, because I have something more to say about baseball's disparity. Really, the situation in baseball looks bad if you're thinking about competitive balance. But let me go on. Back to the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays are going to the Blue Jays are going to make the best offer possible for that right fielder. Now, about bullpen. Great organizations do not buy relievers. Great organizations develop relievers and then sell those relievers to other teams that need them. Now, the time to buy your bullpen is May or June if you conclude you have a fighting chance and your bullpen is an impediment to that fighting chance. But I would prefer to develop a bullpen. And to do that, you start with pitchers who do not walk people. You start with pitchers who have a walk rate per 9 innings of 1 or 1.15, something in that neighborhood. The name Dennis Eckersley should jump to mind here. In the middle 1980s, Dennis Eckersley was an okay starting pitcher. He was an acceptable 3 or 4 guy in anybody's rotation. He had personal problems. He's admitted that. And there was alcohol involved in that as well. But it took a smart organization to understand that this guy does not walk anybody. And if you would get him, if you work with him on the stuff that a closer needs in addition to not walking people, you have possibilities. I mean, I could go on. All through history, there have been closers who seem to appear out of nowhere. But what do they have in common? They could be like Dennis Eckersley and have amazing stuff. They could be like Doug Jones, who threw like 85 miles an hour and just changed speeds all the
Mariano,
time. But what they
Mariano
had in
Rivera,
common was
Trevor
they
Hoffman.
didn't walk anybody. Start from there. You'll get your bullpen right.
Yeah, and then you got Mariano Rivera, and then you got Trevor Hoffman as well. They was very good closers as well. Billy Wagner.
Hmm.
for the Braves
You
and
should remember
everything.
that Mariano Rivera broke in as a starter.
Yeah,
Yeah, his first year with the Yankees, he was a starter slash long guy. And again, it takes a smart organization to take a guy who's come up in a particular role and say, wait a minute, we like this guy's profile as a closer. Um, Now, the
yeah.
person I thought the Cubs could develop into a closer was Nate Pearson, but I was wrong about that. I'm not saying I'm giving up on Nate Pearson. I'm just saying it hasn't happened so far. Now, here we have another anniversary year in baseball. This is the 30th anniversary of the introduction of the wild card. Remember that? Where
Well,
baseball
yeah,
went from
yeah, yeah,
two divisions with 7 teams each to three divisions.
yeah. It made it more interesting.
Oh, it's a disaster. Uh, and this is the only point on which George W. Bush and I agree. George W. Bush was the managing partner of the Texas Rangers. He was against the wild card. He was the only owner to vote against the wild card. I agreed with him completely. I still agree with him completely. The wild card has not solved any of the problems that it was designed to fix. And now we're playing baseball in November and we're starting the season in early March. Why
Yeah,
are
but
we
we
doing
need.
this?
Yeah,
I mean,
but
sorry, we're not starting the season in late March, not early March. My bad.
yeah, but it's about money though, man, and revenue, man. It's all the owners want money and stuff, man, and look at the TV ratings and everything. From ESPN now it's going to be on NBC, or Netflix. They got the games and everything. It's about ratings. That's how it is, money.
I don't
You
believe the
know.
TV ratings are any good any longer.
No, I'm talking about with the wild card rounds. These networks they fought to get the deals and spend all this money to get these games and everything.
But
The
are the
wild card
ratings really
games.
that good? I mean, think
Well,
about it. 40
well,
years ago,
the World Series was good. Look at the Dodgers and Blue Jays. That was one of the best World Series of all time.
well,
It had a
yes, it
lot
was
of
a great
drama and
series,
everything.
but I don't recall that the TV ratings are as good as the ratings for the 1986 World Series 40 years ago between the Mets and the Red Sox. If you look at it, look at ratings two different ways. If you look at the ratings now, you have to be content. But if you look at the ratings compared to where baseball was 30 or 40 years ago, they're off. Fewer people are watching baseball at every turn. Fewer people are watching baseball during the regular season. Fewer people are watching these levels of playoffs. And fewer people overall, as a percentage of the nation, are watching the World Series. And this is a problem for baseball. And one of the reasons it's a problem for baseball is that the fans have concluded that, for the most part, my team is out of it. Now, back to that second anniversary. I took I took a look at all of the World Series participants between 1995 and this year. How many teams made it to the World Series more than once? I'll give you three guesses.
Three.
What?
I said three.
Oh, more than that. I didn't say win the World
10,
Series more than once. I
10.
said went to the World Series more than once.
Seven, seven.
No, it's actually larger than that. I'm not
10.
happy.
This,
I'm not
this like a
happy with this number, but the number is 16.
this like a Jason Stark question when he used to be on ESPN and now he be on MLB Network. He asks questions like this. He like
Well,
remember this
I'm nowhere
pitcher,
near Jason Stark's level of knowledge, so I'll let that be. But I wanted more World Series entrants that were unique, and what I got was that there were 24 franchises that went to at least one World Series since the wild card was developed. Now, take out all the teams that went there only once. We're talking the flukes, Colorado Rockies, Chicago White Sox. You get the idea. And then you've got the number 16. Now, you throw out the teams that appeared twice, and I believe you're down to 11 or 12. But again, not only do we have competitive imbalance within the season, we also have competitive imbalance within the numbers of teams that regularly make the World Series, and it's not getting better. It's only getting worse. If you look back over the last 10 years instead of the last 30 years, then it's fewer than 16 teams overall making the World Series. It's the same 7 or 8 teams that we've used to seeing. Houston, New York Yankees, Los Angeles Dodgers, Atlanta
Yeah,
Braves.
it's like the NBA.
Right. And the other thing is, and this is a potential problem as well, I believe the central divisions are locked out of the World Series. And that brings us back to your issue with the Cubs, because I believe the Cubs are the only team in either Central Division that has the resources to make a legitimate push for a World Series.
But they don't because they are like a small market baseball team, like David Kaplan said. David Kaplan been very angry about them not spending money, and this Al Lanier, he upset that they haven't been spending money, and he live in Hawaii. He a Cubs fan as well. He used to be a
Well,
freelance writer, and he live in Hawaii.
well, I'm going to be as charitable to Mr. Kaplan as I can be. Um, I'm just going to say this: the Cubs don't have to spend money to survive. They don't. Their fan base is loyal. Their fan base is patient. Um, they have attractions that have nothing to do with winning or losing, chiefly their ballpark, also the neighborhood around the ballpark. They have fantastic broadcasting. Remember, the Cubs were the first team to build a super network of radio. Back when radio was a thing in the 30s and the 40s, the Cubs were all over radio. You could literally listen to the Cubs from, I believe, 32 of the 48 continental United States. So these advantages that the Cubs have, they were built over time, they were built over history, and I have no doubt that the Cubs want to win, but they've got a Milwaukee Brewer mindset here. Or a Tampa Bay Ray mindset. What they're doing is they're looking for talent that hasn't been appreciated to augment the 6 or 7 stars that they have, and they'll know when the time is right to spend even more to get that World Series.
Well, exactly, Professor. I would say it was you had to say one more thing before we get out, man. It was a pleasure having you on today as well. You was gonna say one
Well,
more
it's
thing that you want to
wonderful. I
say?
have the one more thing that I have to say is a little pessimistic. I think we're going to have a serious recession in 2026, and I think that professional sports are going to suffer noticeably. That doesn't mean that professional sports are going away or that teams are going bankrupt, but every league next year is going to deal with declining attendance and declining television rankings, because what happens when you lose your job? You have to make hard decisions about what you spend the rest of your money on. And I'm afraid that with professional sports being so saturated with meaningless games, that people are going to say, screw it, I'm out. I don't want to watch the White Sox play the Minnesota Twins. Neither of these teams is going to a World Series. Neither of these teams is relevant. I'd rather stay at home and listen to it on the radio. And so people are going to be making those choices and making those changes, and every sports league is going to have to deal with it. And I hope that they deal with it in a way that preserves their fan base for the long term. And I hope they consider shrinking their seasons because I'm tired of baseball beginning in late March and ending in early November. I'm tired of hockey going to June. Who plays hockey in June? Think about it. Yeah.
Well, Professor, all I gotta say is free Paul Skeens. They need to get Paul Skeens out of Pittsburgh and get him to a contender. You know, they some out there on Unsportsman like earlier, Chris Kenny and Evan Coleman. They
I will
said
take
free
you and
Paul
double that
Skeens.
down. Free
Yeah.
Mike Trout.
Yeah,
Mike
he ain't going
Trout.
nowhere though, man.
Mike
He not
Trout
going
needs to be
nowhere.
traded to a team that needs a guy who's good for 2 or 3 years and nothing more. And the last time I checked, the New York Yankees were giving significant at bats to Jason Dominguez in left field. Jason
Yeah.
Dominguez is not a bad player, but he's not Mike Trout. Come on, Yankees. We know you can
Well,
do it. You have a history
yeah.
of doing it. Go get Mike Trout.
Well, well, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure having you on today, man. But the first time ever, you know, you've been clamoring to come on, so I had to get you on, man.
Well,
And
thank
it's
you. I
gonna be all
appreciate
right,
it.
right? It's gonna be all right. I'm surprised you ain't sing,
It's
man.
going to
You
be
know,
all
I'm
right.
be
We're going to
yeah.
be all right. I don't know about the sports leagues, but you and I, we'll be all right. Take care, man.